for 3 months, that is from last December 2022 December to March 2023 this year. And she trained primary and high school children of Sringeri in communicative English completely free of cost. And that's really a great selfless service. She has handled positions like HOD of MBA program at Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology, principal of Nagarjuna Degree College, controller of examinations for Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology, and many more. Currently, she is working as professor in Sindhi Institute of Management, and she is also the managing partner of Aghanasha Consulting LLP, which is a training and research consultancy. We are fortunate enough to have such an eminent personality as the guest speaker of this session. On behalf of Disciples India Learning Forum, I extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Sandhya. I welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to kindly start the session.
Thank you, Rupashri madam. Over to you, Sandhya madam.
Yes, madam. Please start the session.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rupashri, for that wonderful introduction you gave about me. And then in the beginning of the session itself, I would like to mention, hope I am audible.
Yes, you are audible. You are audible.
Yeah, I would like to mention the very purpose of this presentation. The motive behind. Hello. Participants, can you kindly mute yourself? The motive behind this session is the way in which it is projected at the global level is that management as a discipline, as a subject, it is the contribution of Westerners. It is projected in such a way that Indians do not know much about management. But here I would like to say a few things, because Indian thoughts, Indian heritage has contributed a lot towards the management. So the contemporary management, we have a lot of ideas have been borrowed from the ancient heritage. That is what I would like to state here. And I would like to say, this is all what the participants know. I'm not saying anything new, but then I would like to touch upon only those concepts which have contributed, the aspects of Indian heritage which have contributed to the contemporary management. So again, this is a very vast subject, and I may not be able to take up all the contributions, but wherever required, wherever we have, as all of us know, time management, team building, these are all some buzzing words in management. But how these have originated from the Indian heritage is what I would like to touch upon in this particular session. And then I'll not be taking very long time. Probably in a span of 30 minutes, I would like to say what I want to say, and then I would like the participants to interact so that we can get more thoughts about this. And I thank the Disciples group for giving me this opportunity. So let me start. The title of this presentation, I have put it as Interface between Indian Heritage and Modern Management. That is, what is the link? What is the connection between the Indian heritage and the contemporary management? Next slide, please. Next slide, sir. So what is heritage, first of all? I am not going into any definitions. Can any participants just tell me what is heritage? I'm not looking for any definition, just your idea. What is that we call heritage? Anyone?
Heritage is something old. What we know, it may be tradition, what we are cultivating now.
Yes, very good. So heritage is what is passed on from generation to generation in the form of tradition, custom, culture, or way of living. So because everything is based on the past, it is not that we are doing something new today. Probably the things are being done in a different way, but definitely what was there earlier. So Indian heritage, when I talk about Indian heritage, as all of us know, India is a land of varied cultures and traditions. So we have different religions which are coexisting in India. And then we have lot of caste religions, creeds in our country. Still, we are all having something in common, what we call the Indian heritage. If I can tell you a small example, Atiti Devo Bhava, it is regardless of the caste, religion, we have this in our culture to treat our guests as God. That is, we give a lot of importance to our guests. So this has been imbibed in our culture. So I can say like this is just a small example. So everything, most of the aspects in our Indian heritage has contributed to the thought of management. So let us see what are the contemporary management aspects which we have borrowed from the Indian heritage. Next slide. So, as we all know, some of the components of heritage in the broad sense, we have borrowed around about art, literary, music, architecture, knowledge of science, culture, tradition, and even the value systems. Value systems are the do's and the don'ts. What is good for us, what is bad for us, what is accepted in the society. These are all the components of Indian heritage. Altogether, I can say whatever we have inherited from our ancestors. So maybe the style of architecture. Earlier we were talking about the Indo-Persian style of architecture. Today also our architecture, certain things are followed based on the ancient knowledge and our knowledge of science. It is based on the previous thoughts. It is based on the contributions given by our ancestors. The culture, what we are following, the traditions, what we are following. It may be performing some festivals. It may be interacting with others, treating others. So many things we have learned from our ancestors, which forms a part of heritage. And all these are the components of Indian heritage in broad sense. Next slide. So Indian heritage has a great impact on our contemporary lifestyles, right from self-management to professional management. So before we talk about management, professional management in business organizations, first of all, we should know about self-management. What is self-management? Can anyone please contribute your idea? Please make the session interactive. What is self-management? First, let us say about self-management, then we will come to professional management. How many of us are really good at managing ourselves? That is managing our time. Yes. To what extent we are disciplined? All this can be considered as self-management. So self-management is how do we project ourselves? How disciplined we are in our personal life. Obviously, if we are disciplined in our personal life, definitely we can be disciplined even in our professional life. And whatever values, ideas we have in our personal life, the same things are carried to the organization. So you can't treat self-management and professional management as two different entities. We can't say our personality doesn't have anything to do with our profession. Our personality definitely has a lot to do with our profession. The way we talk to others, the way we treat others. So all this definitely matters a lot. So now we shall consider how Indian heritage has contributed to the thoughts of self-management. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Self-management and Indian values. So we have a simple thing, taboos, lot of norms. Taboos and norms are the unwritten rules. They definitely preach us the way of life. A simple thing like not harming others. Ahimsa paramo dharma. It is there in our religion. We should not harm anybody. So if we link it to our profession or to our self-management, if this value, if we practice, definitely we will be in such a position that unnecessarily we will not interfere with others. When we don't interfere with others, definitely we respect everyone. When we respect everyone, there is very less scope for any kind of conflicts. maybe in our personal life, maybe in our professional life. So definitely we'll be disciplined individuals because we don't poke our nose in anybody's affairs. We don't harm anybody. And then Tattvamasi. This is actually a slogan from Rig Veda adopted by Shankaracharya also, Adi Shankaracharya. So Tattvamasi, you are that. That means we should show according to our scriptures. We should show so much respect to others that God dwells in everyone. That is, everyone should be treated with respect. You are that. Here, you are that means you are Brahman. In the sense, you are a person in whom God dwells. So if we have that understanding, we don't feel like insulting anybody. So even in organization, it may be a job of a housekeeping. We are not supposed to, even the modern personal management speak about the dignity of every individual that should be ensured in organizations, irrespective of the job he does. It is our duty to respect every job. So just because a person is doing a job of low profile, and we cannot say a particular job is of low profile or high profile, because every job is required in the organization. If the housekeeping staff do not come regularly or if they do not do their job properly, the manager cannot sit in his room, right? It starts stinking, it is full of dust. So visitors will definitely carry a negative opinion about the organization. So that's why even the job of housekeeping is very important. Every job in the organization is important. So that is why we must respect every individual. It is not just respecting by calling them as sir or madam, but you should understand that every individual has a set of values. He is a human being. Every job should be treated with dignity. So, Tattvamasi, that means you are that. You are that means God dwells in you. You are the Brahman. In the sense, God dwells in you. This idea was given by Adi Shankaracharya, and this is a slogan which has been borrowed from Rig Veda. So, right from the ancient times, we are taught to respect the individuals. When we respect others, definitely we will be good self-managers. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. If I think many of you are familiar with Kannada here, even if I talk about Basaveshwara Vachana, Kalabeda Kolabeda, Husiya Nudiyalu Beda, Muniya Beda, Anyarige Asahya Padabeda, Tanna Bannisabeda, Idira Haliyalu Beda, Ide Antaranga Shuddhi, Ide Bahiranga Shuddhi. So here, in this context, Basaveshwara is talking about how you have to be a pure individual, how to become a good individual. That is, you should not steal, should not kill others, should not lie, unnecessarily don't get angry, and then don't speak ill of others, don't praise yourself, and don't criticize others. So that is the gist of this particular vachana. So it says, Ide Antaranga Shuddhi. So that is how you can be pure in your heart. When you are pure in your heart, definitely you are a good self-manager. Most of the problems, the ego conflicts which we are facing, maybe in our personal life, in our professional life, all that can be solved if we are pure in heart. So that ethical mindset is what we have to develop, treating others with dignity and developing an ethical mindset. So when we have an ethical mindset, we become tolerable to others. We don't feel others, we don't think that others are inferior to us. We start respecting them, and we have that ethical values, what to do, what not to do, and how we should behave so that others accept us. So this is also an important aspect of self-management. And dear friends, participants, as most of you know, most of the problems in organizations today are happening because of egoistic nature. The leader has lot of ego. He just wants his subordinates to listen to what he says. He will not give an opportunity to others to say what they want to say. Whether you take their opinion or not is secondary. But first, give them an opportunity to say what they want to say. So most of the leaders, they call for a meeting. You might have observed, they dictate terms. For namesake, it is called a meeting, but it is not a meeting. In fact, it is more like informing. The director wants to, whoever is the leader, he wants to dictate terms. He wants to give his decision. That's it. He wants just to convey his decision. He would have called for a meeting. So this kind of leadership style, further I'll talk more about leadership. So this will create problems. That is because a person will not be a good leader because of his ethical mindset. His ethical mindset is not proper. He is not in a position to respect others. He does not, he praises himself and criticizes others. So when a person has this kind of ethical mindset, obviously he cannot be a good leader. This is so one aspect of self-management is having an ethical mindset and then respecting others. Next slide. So self-control. So why should we control ourselves? We have to control our emotions. Sometimes you get very angry, but you cannot behave however you want. Society has certain restrictions. We have to keep our emotions under control. So you might have heard of so many buzzing terms in HR: anger management, emotional control, emotional quotient, spiritual quotient, all this. These are very, very important to be good individuals. So all our ancient epics, it may be Veda, it may be Bhagavad Gita, they all emphasize on self-control. They have used one particular word for this, Indriya Nigraha, that is controlling your sense organs. I mean to say, just because you know how to talk, you cannot talk whatever you want. You cannot behave however you want. You have to keep yourself under control. So that is emphasized. So if you can keep yourself under control, definitely you can be a very good self-manager. Because, dear friends, before we enter organizations as managers, first thing we must know is to control ourselves. Because there is a saying, when you point at somebody with your forefinger, the remaining folded fingers are pointing at you only. In the sense, majority of the problem may be with us. That's why there is a need for every individual to introspect himself before blaming others. It is very important to realize, where have I gone wrong? What is the reason for this particular situation? So when a person can be a good self-manager, he can be definitely a best manager in the organization. That's why repeatedly I'm trying to tell you, there is a close link between self-management and professional management. A person who cannot manage himself, a person who cannot keep his emotions under control, a person who can handle the situation as the way it comes. So how he will be able to manage the organization? So that's the gist of it. So that is why it's very important that a person should be a good self manager. So there are definitely effective techniques of self control and stress management according to our ancient scriptures like Veda, Bhagavad Gita. All this talk about Indriya Nigraha. That is, you have to keep your sense under control, sense organs under control. So it's very important, especially the tongue. Because in other context also many people have said, it is your talk which helps you in winning over others. It is your talk which makes you strain your relation with others. So that is why the tongue is very important, which needs to be controlled. So this is all suggested by our ancient scriptures, which is a very good aspect of self-management. Next slide. And then coming to professional management. So our ancient scriptures not only talk about self-management, they also talk about various aspects of professional management. It may be workplace ethics, career planning, succession planning, centralization, decentralization. All these aspects are emphasized in Indian traditions. So let us see how they are touched upon in our ancient scripture. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. I would like to start from this team building or teamwork. So we talk a lot about team building. Present organizations, particularly IT companies, one has to be a good team member. Lot of training is imparted to the new entrants to be a good team member. So this team management is what is there since ages. So I can talk about music. You all can see the picture. Music is never effective when it is done by a single individual. However good a singer may be, he has to be supported by the background music. So here in the picture you can see the music can be effective only when it is supported by the instruments. So this is really a best example of team management. And I don't know how many of you are aware of the Indian traditional music. Quite often it happens that the person who plays the instrument and the person who sings, the singer and the person who is playing the instruments might not have met each other earlier at all. But then they meet only at the concert. But then once the singer starts singing, the person who is playing the instrument is able to catch the pitch and accordingly he plays. So this is really a very good example of team management, and quite often on the spot the team is formed and very effectively the task is done. The team members collaborate in such a good manner that they carry out the task very effectively. So this is the very beginning of team management. And you might have observed that certain mantras are sung in chorus in temples. Veda mantras and Rudra Namaka, these are all sung in chorus in temples. So you can, when it is sung by professionals, they definitely maintain the tempo, they definitely maintain the tone in such a manner that there is no disturbance at all. So this is really a very good example of team management. It is not that we are coming across this team management for the first time. It has been there since time immemorial. So team management is one important thing which has been taught to us by our ancient people. Next slide. And then I can even talk about time management. Today we talk a lot about time management. We say Westerners have taught us the time, importance of time. But dear friends, this was there even in the ancient period. A simple thing like in marriage or any functions, we used to strictly we follow the muhurtam. That is, some particular time is given and the activity, important activities have to be, all the rituals have to be completed in that particular time itself. So one has to be definitely a good time manager. And then all our daily activities, we do certain things only at certain point of time, right? So as soon as we get up, we brush the teeth, we take bath, and then we get ready. It is not that we go to office and take bath. It need not be taught to us from the from others. It has been a part of our lifestyle. So our daily activities are scheduled in such a manner as per time. Particular time we do particular things only. So this may be in our personal life or even in our professional life. And this we have inherited from our ancestors, how to manage time, what to do at which particular point of time. If we can, I can tell you definitely every homemaker is a very good time manager. So the family members need not tell the mother that every day she has to prepare food at that particular time. She knows her responsibility. She does it. She need not be reminded every time. So she gets up at that particular time. She does her activity. She helps the others who are going for work. So time management has been definitely an integral part of our professional as well as personal life, which we have inherited from our ancestors. Next slide. And then succession planning. This is again a buzzing word. Succession planning is once a particular superior of an organization is likely to retire, who will fill that chair, who will fill that particular position. So now the practice in organizations, business organizations, is that they will normally find, if there is a chairman, there will be a deputy chairman. If there is a CEO, there will be a deputy CEO. It is implied that that particular person will occupy the position after the retirement of CEO. But dear friends, this succession planning, that is who will succeed after that person who is in the position after he retires or after he dies, who will succeed that position. This thought has been given to us right from the ancient period. Even in monarchy form of government, right from the ages of Ramayana, the king used to nominate his successor as Yuvaraja. If you remember, that is how Dasharatha, when he got old, he was getting old, he realized that there should be a successor. So that is how he decided to make Rama as his successor. Anyway, the story goes differently. He did not become the Yuvaraja, that is a different thing. But this plan was there for all the kings, not only Ramayana, even in ancient kings. When monarchy was the type of government, to avoid any kind of confusion, the king used to nominate his successor and implied that the successor would become the ruler after the demise of the king. And even in religious institutions, there is a system of appointing Uttaradhikari, that is the next successor by seer. The present seer or the present pontiff, that is who is the present Swamiji, he will nominate his successor. For your kind information, in Sringeri Peetham today, we call it Avichinna Guru Parampara. That is, there is no break at all in the lineage. That is, as of now, that present Swamiji is the 36th Swamiji, and there was never a break. Right from the first pontiff, he used to nominate his successor. Now the 36th successor, Swamiji has already appointed his successor 5 years back itself. So this is how succession planning is found in our ancient career itself, because these religious institutions and mutts, they are not just treated as religious institutions. They are doing lot of other works, lot of financial aspects are involved in it, and they are doing social service. It may be Udupi Mutt or it may be Sringeri Mutt. They are supporting the nearby schools and colleges. There are educational institutions run by them. They are running hospitals. They are doing lot of public activities. So to take care of all this, there should be one superior. So there cannot be any confusion. After one particular demise of one particular person, who will be the person who will take over next? A confusion will be created. So there is lot of interface between these religious institutions and the society. So to avoid any kind of such confusion, there is a system of succession planning. And for your kind information, Sringeri Peetham since 1200 years, it is in place. Adi Shankaracharya founded it in 1200 years back. And since then, we call it Avichinna Guru Parampara. That is, there is no break at all. That is, who will succeed to the throne, who will become the next Swamiji is already decided when the elder Swamiji is alive. Similarly, in Udupi Mutt, the same practice is being followed. So this definitely talks about succession planning, which is an important buzzing term in the present organizations. And then even in Hindu undivided family, of course, now we have the nuclear family system, but in Hindu undivided family, the head of the family was known as the Karta, who used to manage all the family affairs. But the eldest son in the family would become the next Karta. That used to be decided by the father when he was alive itself. He would call others and he would say that the eldest son would succeed, so would become the Karta. So this talks about succession planning. You can imagine in any organization, if you do not know who is the successor, people come and go. Organizations continue to succeed because organizations are all legal entities. The death of a person or retirement of a person cannot put an end to this. So definitely when one person is alive, when one person is in position, he should decide who shall become the successor. So this succession planning is what we have inherited from our ancient people. Next slide. Excuse me. So even decentralization. So what is decentralization? As we all know, it is division of power among different heads. So practically it is not possible. It may be an organization when it expands. One person cannot do all the job. All the activities cannot be carried out by one particular person. So obviously there should be decentralization. That is, you should have different people for carrying out different things. That is division of powers. So in the ancient system, when the monarchy was the form of government, the entire kingdom or the political entity was divided into provinces. Today we call them states in the democracy, but in ancient period, they were all known as provinces and they were headed by different people. And even a village was headed by a village head. and each unit of administration was headed by one particular person. He had powers to manage his own unit. So again, I can give you here the example of Sringeri Mutt. As we all know, in 4 different parts of the country, that is Sringeri, Dwaraka, Puri, Badri, there are 4 different in Pitas, what we call them the Shankara Pitas. They are there in 4 different parts of the country. And each particular unit situated in different parts of the country can manage their own affairs. Similarly, all of you might have heard of the Ashtamatas in Udupi. There are 8 different mutts. That is, each mutt has its own, it has powers to manage its own financial resources. It can take decisions. So this is really a very good example of decentralization. Today, contemporary thought, what we are talking about decentralization, it was there since time immemorial, right from the time of monarchy and even right from the time of our religious gurus. Next slide. Division of labor. Division of labor is dividing the work among different people. So it was there even in the ancient system of administration. People were given tasks according to their ability and expertise. That is, people who were good at finance, they used to take care of the financial affairs. And then people who were good at administration, they were given the responsibility of ministers. And people who were good at fighting, that is warriors who were trained, they used to take care of the army. So like this, there was division of labor excuse me, even during the ancient period. And even in Hindu undivided family, there was division of labor among men and women. So the work which was orders in nature, that is taking care of the field work, agriculture, such other things were done by the men, and women used to take care of the household work. Even to this day, it is so in many families where women are not working outside. They take care of the house. So we find a clear-cut division of labor. So this principle of division of labor, what we study in Henry Fayol's 14 principles of management, it is one of the principles of management which we find it in the ancient period itself. So ancient heritage clearly talks about division of labor, which is a contemporary principle in management. Next slide.
Hello. Sandhya madam, we're not able to hear you. Sandhya madam?
Connection is lost. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, now we are audible, madam.
I think there was a technical glitch. Sorry about it. So
Yes.
event management. So event management, special events like wars, royal weddings, celebration of festivals, all these were managed by incorporating all principles of management. So like today we talk about organizing a function in a particular organization, some event in the organization. Say for example, it may be convocation day in a particular institution. So we say who should be the anchor, who should give the invocation, who is in charge of food committee. Like this, we make various committees, but all these things were there earlier itself. So even the royal weddings and big functions, celebration of festivals, public gatherings, all these were well managed. So they were all planned, how to do it, who is responsible for what. All this was decided earlier. It's only today, dear friends, we have a practice of calling event managers. Otherwise, all our traditional functions earlier, marriage means relatives used to take care, nearest relatives would take care of the things, what should be done, which particular event should follow, which one. All these were decided by the family members and they were well managed. So event management is something, it is not that what we are doing today. Earlier also it was there. In fact, all the traditional events were managed in a very good manner. The next slide. And then crisis management. As we all know, crisis is something which we cannot plan. It happens all of a sudden. It may be an crisis, I can say it can be an unforeseen situation. But then our ancient thought definitely has contributed a lot towards crisis management. Veda has its own approach to crisis management, and Bhagavad Gita says, whatever may be the situation, a person has to take it in a proper manner. He should have a stable mind to take it, and he should maintain equilibrium in all situations. So it says, Sukha dukkhe same krutva, labha labho jaya jayau, tato yudaya yujasva, naivam papam avapyasi. So you have to fight for the sake of duty. Happiness and distress, gain, you may lose or you may win. That is different. But you have to do your duty properly. So whatever may be the situation, it is not that you feel very happy. Of course, it is human tendency. We feel happy when we are successful. But at the same time, when we face failures, we have to take it with the same kind of mindset. Of course, it's easy to say, but very difficult to practice in life. But then today, what we talk about crisis management, handling unforeseen situations, all these have been a part of our Vedic culture itself. So Bhagavad Gita emphasizes on this aspect. Probably if we can follow it in life, we will be really balanced individuals. Of course, it is difficult to achieve this state of mind, but if we can practice this, we will be definitely calm and composed individuals. So when you are calm and composed in your any difficult situation, definitely you can find out a solution. If you are in panic, it's difficult for you to find a solution. Quite often, many situations are unforeseen. We cannot plan for it. You can say, for example, COVID itself, how our country faced it. And with this huge population, of course, there were casualties. There was a time where 50,000 people were dying in Bangalore itself. I mean, 50,000 reported cases, around 10,000 people dying in Bangalore city itself. But we could overcome the situation, we could manage it, and how vaccination was administered, and then the level of casualty was brought down because the world had not planned for this. So crisis management is what we have to learn, and this has been taught to us by Bhagavad Gita. Right from the ancient ages, we have thoughts about this crisis management. Next slide. And then ethics at workplace. Today, it has become a very important thing. Whenever we talk about business ethics, we talk about HR ethics and we talk about ethics at workplace. But again, Bhagavad Gita talks about, the Karma Yoga talks about ethics at workplace. We have to do our duties sincerely. Karmanye vadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma palaheturbu matar sangostva karmani. So that is, we have no control over the results of our action. We have control only our actions. So we have to do our duties sincerely without thinking of the result. The result may be good or bad. So instead of thinking that whether we will be successful or not, do your duties properly. What results you are bound to get, you will get it. So that is ethics at workplace. That is, I can say, even it talks about detachment to work, in the sense you are detached to the result, but you are attached only to the work what you are doing. Be sincere in your approach. And then our Hindu scriptures talk about the fact that work is worship. So it says it is the moral obligation to do our duty properly. So even Basavanna has told Kayakave Kailasa, that is, if you do your duty sincerely, you can even attain salvation. That is what he says. So ethics at workplace also has been a contribution. Today we find a lot of books being written on ethics at workplace, but definitely we find the roots in our ancient scriptures about this. Next slide. This I have already told. When Bhagavad Gita emphasizes the principle of Nishkama Karma, as I have already told you, detachment for work. That is, detachment for work in the sense, detachment over the results. So instead of pondering over the results, we have to do our duties sincerely. So that is about workplace ethics, which has definitely been a buzzing term in management today. As I told you, a lot of research is going on in this area, but definitely the roots lie in our ancient heritage. Next slide. And then empathy and compassion. Indian philosophy talks about kindness, compassion, others. So as we all know, empathy, sympathy, from sympathy we have moved to empathy, is the sense of concern for others. I don't know how many of you are management students here. Every time in HR question papers, we find a question, what is empathy? Is there any need for empathy? So this has become a buzzing term in business organizations. Empathy means having concern for others, but this philosophy has been advocated to us in the ancient period itself. And Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the entire world is one, entire world is like a family. Now the present G20 summit, this has been a theme. India is hosting, it has started from today as we all know. So this has been extended even in our system of administration. And the theme of G20 summit, which is hosted by India, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, we don't think of, we are not selfish, that we are thinking only of our progress, but we are treating the entire world. Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam, that is, Vasudha means the entire earth, entire world. Entire world is like one family. So if countries probably go with this thought, I don't think there will be any need for one country to fight with another country. So easily war situation can be managed and cordial relations can be managed. International management becomes very easy. Next slide. And then again, if I have to talk about principles of international law, that is protecting the life of embassy. So international law alone we don't say. So these are all again the principles of international law management as such. So how to treat the prisoners of war, how to treat the embassy. So all these have been are based on the principles right from the time of Ramayana. If I can quote here, when Hanuman was arrested by Ravan, Hanuman deliberately got himself arrested by Brahmastra. He surrendered to Brahmastra because one thing is he wanted to know what is the power of Ravana. So he went to Ravana's court. So there, all the other demons, they wanted to kill Hanuman, but then Vibhishana advised that Hanuman has come only as a messenger of Rama, so he should never be killed. So during those days, it's a of war between two countries. The first thing which has to be done is, if there is an outbreak of war between two countries, say for example India and some other country, if Indian embassy is there, his life has to be protected. That becomes the priority of us, and today we have signed Geneva Convention, so many other our rules as well about it. And then this was the principle. Today we have, as I told you, international conventions we have found, we have signed, and we are following these rules. And if I have to talk about again environmental management, today all of us are talking about protecting the environment, global warming, etc. But all these were again mentioned in ancient Indian culture. The Vedic mantras, they treated forces of nature as divine and worshipped them. So trees were worshipped. We can say Ashwatha Vriksha and some other kind of trees, and the rivers were worshipped. Ganga river was considered as the holy river. So even the Mother Earth was respected. So all the forces of nature were treated as divine and we worship them. So that speaks about the fact that so much importance we were giving to the protection of environment. And then even if we talk about monarchy form of administration, Kautilya's Arthashastra also mentions punishment for fine. It used to impose punishment for various offenses like unauthorizedly cutting trees or polluting the river. For all these things, fine were imposed. which was mentioned in Kautilya's Arthashastra also. So definitely our ancient people, today what we are talking about, managing the environment or protecting the environment. Today we have Environment Protection Act or Prevention of Pollution to Environment. The act was passed in the year 1986. Prior to that, we have the Air Act, Water Act, Conservation of Forests Act. But all these are definitely based on our ancient principles itself. So based on this, the laws have been evolved. Next slide. And then ethical leadership. So Mahabharata emphasizes the concept of ethical leadership. So if you all remember, most of you would have read the story of Mahabharata. When Bhishmacharya was on his deathbed, he advised Rajaniti. He advocated Rajaniti. That is how a king should behave. He advised it to Yudhishthira. Then in that context, he stated how a king should behave, why a king should be an ethical leader. So Lord Krishna himself is an embodiment of ethical leadership. As you know, he never on his own, he never fought with Kauravas, but then he only motivated the Pandavas. He only motivated them and he took them on the right path. So Lord Krishna himself is an example. He is an embodiment of ethical leadership. So a leader should be ethical. It is stated even in the contemporary management, only when the leader is ethical, an organization can run well. Next slide. Next slide. So as concluding remarks, I would like to say what we talk about ancient scriptures or Sanatana Dharma. So we have respect for women. Today, there is a slogan, Pujanti Tatra Ramante Devataha. So where women are respected. So the same principles we are following it even in business organizations. We have a lot of rules and regulations for protection of women. So what we call Sanatana Dharma are ancient Indian style life. What we should do, what we should teach, provides a holistic approach to the management thoughts. So today's contemporary management, what we are speaking the Westerners, but the thoughts were there in the ancient period itself. So lot has been contributed from the ancient period. I am very particular about this because the moment we talk about management, I'm not saying there is something wrong in that, but people feel it is prestigious to pursue MBA from foreign universities. Let me be candid. How will you apply consumer behavior of a Western country to Indian consumers? Indian consumers are totally different. Culture differs. The way in which Indian consumers differ. So whatever marketing theory which is applied there may not hold good here in Indian context. That's why today management has been projected in such a way that it is totally a Western subject. It is the gift of Europeans. So that is why there are some universities, organizations talking about Vedic management. Some private universities have introduced one curriculum, one discipline itself as Vedic management. That is how the principles of management, today's principles, how they have been borrowed from the ancient scriptures. So here I would like to conclude by saying that if you can understand what has been gifted to us from our ancestors, we can have a holistic approach to the concept of management, and probably most of the problems what we are facing in today's organizations, it may be ego conflict, clash among the workers and the management, all these things can be easily solved by understanding ourselves. First, if we can manage ourselves and be good self managers, and then we can definitely become professional managers. So with this, I would like to conclude. I would like to say that we have borrowed a lot regarding the contemporary management principles from our ancient heritage. So with this, I would like to conclude, and I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity. I hope I have touched upon certain important things. I'm open for questions. The forum is open for questions.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ma'am, Pushpa here.
yeah. Yes, Pushpa, please.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I am teaching this time principles of management, principles and practices, and management principles and application subject. Here
Okay.
in this subject, we have planning, organizing, directing, controlling, like that. And
Yeah.
various theories are there who are the contributors of management, like Elton Mayo, Taylor, Fayol, like that. Okay. So, how can I relate this particular topic to that one?
See, planning, you can take the example of our monarchy, ancient system of administration. There also we had planning. And even in our family, every individual family, they used to plan the activities. For example, it may be performing a marriage or celebrating a function. It was planned. Everything was planned in our daily situation. You take a very trivial example. What do we tomorrow is planned from today itself, don't we? What do we get up? What do we do after getting up? So it is all well planned. What we have borrowed from our ancestors only. So they used to plan any kind of big events, any small events, the day-to-day activities, everything they used to plan. You can relate it. It is not that I have nothing against Elton Mayo or anybody, but it is not that it's very sad. The saddest part is that no books, or very few books I can say, they also mention that Indian contribution of Indians to management. I think you find this in very few management books, if I'm right. Yes.
Correct, ma'am.
But
You
we
can
as
take some
teachers,
examples
yes.
of
Yeah,
you
you
can
can
take some
take
examples of some Infosys or Tata, how they have built their
yeah,
companies like that. That's all we get from Indian perspective.
yeah, Indian perspective, you can say that you can go still back and you can take it to the age of monarchy. See, normally the kings used to plan their activities. If there are some disputes to be heard by the king, it would be made known to the king one day in advance, so that the king would sit in the court in person and he would hear the disputes, because king was the
Correct.
fountain of justice.
Correct, ma'am.
Yes. So means somewhere like we as
Hello.
in textbooks. Any other questions? Does that any other questions?
Hello, ma'am. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah. Now you are audible.
Ma'am, you said about Krishna, Vibhishana, and all that. How these examples we are going to get, ma'am, like to teach the management subject only. In our college, they are telling Indian knowledge system like that. IKS one subject is going to be delivered by the university, and we must be able to handle this subject by giving the examples of the this one Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedas, like that.
Yeah.
So how to
all that you need
get
to do is
tell me, ma'am.
Examples. Yeah. You have to, it's just your understanding and knowledge. All of you know the Ramayana story, you know the Mahabharata story. So you can recollect it and link it to the contemporary thing. Like we ourselves have to make the examples. Probably very few books are there on this. So we need to, out of our understanding of that, those epics, we have to make examples. So it's just knowledge management, I can say. I mean, till we get sufficient books on this subject.
Is there any research paper that is published on this one, ma'am? To get
There
an
are plenty
idea.
of papers. There are a lot of papers. There are a lot of papers which talk about this. In fact, I don't know if you are familiar with Kannada. Kannada Gadegalu. There are lot
Kannada,
of
I am a
things which
Kannadiga
talk
only,
about. They are very pertinent. Yeah, they are very
I'm a
pertinent
Kannadiga only.
to the contemporary. Okay, great. So Kannada ಗಾದೆಗಳು ತುಂಬಾ ಗಾದೆಗಳು ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ನಾವ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಓದಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವ್ ಈ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಗೆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಗಾದೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ವೇದ
ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರೂ
ಇರ್ಬೋದು,
ನಿಮ್ಮ content
ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ
ನ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ಸುಭಾಷಿತಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಈ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್
ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್
ಏನಾದ್ರು ನೀವು
ಡಿಸೈಪಲ್ಸ್
ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ma'am?
ಅದು
Okay.
ಡಿಸೈಪಲ್ಸ್ ನವ್ರನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ. You can get it.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್
So
ಸಿಂಧಿ
ನಾನು
ಕಾಲೇಜ್
ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸುಭಾಷಿತ ಇದೆ, ನನ್ಗೆ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರ ಕೊನೆ ಲೈನ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆ. ನಹಿ ಸುಪ್ತಸ್ಯ ಸಿಂಹಸ್ಯ ಮುಖೆ ಪ್ರವಿಶಂತಿ ಮೃಗಾಃ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೋ ಆನಿಮಲ್ ಆನ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ದಿ ಮೌತ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಲಯನ್. A lion also, though it is considered as a king of the forest, it has to struggle to get its food. So it teaches a simple thing. Every one of us have to work hard. So they are all not just poems or something, rather they teach us the way of life, which can be applicable even to management. Yes.
ಓಕೆ
Okay. Any other
ಓಕೆ
question?
ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಿಮ್ದು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ನಮಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು?
ಅದು ಡಿಸೈಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೇಳಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
Madam, you can take my number.
Yeah.
Madam, num number ಒಂದು, if you can send me a message, hi message, I can share you the details, madam.
ಓಕೆ, ನಂಬರ್ ಸರ್, ನಂಬರ್ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್, ನಾನು ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಲೋ,
I sent in the chat, madam, chat box. It's 99862.
99862.
Again 99 159.
ಓಕೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ರಿಪೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಾ ಸರ್? 9988 99159.
99862.
ಓಕೆ,
99159.
ಒಂದ್ ನಿಮಿಷ ಸರ್. 99862 99862
ಮತ್ತೆ 99159.
99159. ಸರ್, ನಿಮ್ ಹೆಸರು?
ಶಿವಪ್ರಸಾದ್.
ನೀವು ಸಿಂಧಿ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ನವ್ರೇನಾ ಸರ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಡಿಸೈಪಲ್ಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್. ಸೊ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅದೇ ಏನ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್? ಇಮೇಲ್ ಐಡಿನ?
ಹಾ, kindly share me your email ID. I'll share you the details of it.
Or I'll send my number to you.
Yes, madam. Anything.
I'll send my number sir. ನೀವು ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನನಗೆ.
Sure, madam. Sure.
ಮ್ಯಾಮ್, ಇದು ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್. ತುಂಬಾ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ.
Thank you very much for showing the interest.
Thank you, sir.
You can also talk to me, call me. Another paper idre we can work on it. Research paper.
Sure. Ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Yeah,
you can share your number also. Yeah, madam.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'll share my number. You want me to share now?
Yes.
For the madam.
Yeah. Yeah. 1 second, sir. I'll type it in the chat.
Any other questions?
So any other questions you have, you can later take my mail ID from disciples. We can talk more about this.
Sure, madam. I'll be sharing your contact details.
Okay, sir.
To the interested candidates.
Okay.
Now we come to the vote of thanks. I request Mr. Abhishek.
Yeah.
From Tathagat to give the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Abhishek.
Yes. Thank you, madam, and thank you all participants who have participated in this session, and I would also like to give the immense. It's an immense pleasure to deliver vote of thanks for this event, and also chief guest our Dr. Sandhya Madam. And this session was very helpful for the management students and also all competitive exam preparations in the way that cultural things, whatever ancient and medieval history of India, the cultural things, whatever the implications in the present modern, all political and also environment things, these are applicable based on the cultural things only. So for that, giving the information about cultural in the management. Thank you very much for the giving this session, Sandhya Madam.
Thank
And
you.
once again, I will thank you all participants who have participated in and giving this session as successful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really thank Team Tathagat for being a part of the session as an associate partner. Thank you, Team Tathagat. Now we come to the end of the session. Thank you all again. And now I request everyone to stand up for the national anthem.
Yeah.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
So to connect with Disciples India Learning Forum, you can send your details to dillearningforum@gmail.com. Thank you all. Thank you all for being a part of this learning session. Wish you all a happy good night and a happy weekend too. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.